Hello and welcome. Thanks so much for joining us on Sound Off Sports. I'm Mike Davis, joined by my main man, James Edward Barrickman, the fourth. James, lots to discuss. We're going to be talking about DeAndre Hopkins a little later in the show. We're going to be talking about the 49ers. Can they get back to the promised land? I don't think so. But first, we're going to talk about the World Series that everybody dreamed of. The Dodgers and the Yankees. It's the first time we're going to have 5 MVPs in the World Series from Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Judge, and Stanton. Plus, it's just going to be a major showdown. First time there's been 2 players with over 50 home runs in a World Series, with Judge and Ohtani with 58 and 54 respectively. So we asked everybody at home, who do you think's going to win this big-time showdown? Let's hear the first response we got, James.
I just think that's the biggest mistake the Raiders could actually have done, traded him to the New York Jets. So in my perspective, I think the Raiders are going to go downhill for the rest of the season.
All right, so Dodgers in 5 there from our caller. Shohei going to put on a show. Listen, this is going to be exciting stuff. This is what baseball is all about. You got to love playoff baseball.
Playoff baseball and playoff hockey, those are like the 2 sports that, during the regular season, maybe you're not tuning into every game like we are for football games, but when those sports get to the postseason, hockey, baseball, those crowds and those moments, those overtime goals, those walk-off home runs are stuff of legend, things that we think about 20, 30, 40 years down the road, and it's magical. There's a magic to it that you can't replicate in other sports.
It's pretty fascinating what this matchup and showdown is going to look like. Both lineups have so many studs, a lot of high-powered offense. Really, from a pitching standpoint, I think where the differences really come into play, because the Yankees have a better rotation, whereas the Dodgers are really known more for their bullpen. So Jack Flaherty is not on the same level as Garrett Cole. I mean, it's a totally different thing.
Garrett Cole's the best starter in the series, pretty.
But even
easily.
Luis Gil, Rodon, I mean, we like all these guys.
Studs. I mean, you're looking at these payrolls, right? The Yankees got the second highest payroll in baseball, over $300 million. Dodgers, I think, are top 5 as well. What I think is really interesting about this series is the Yankees haven't won a World Series. The big bad Yankees
since 2009.
It's been a long
Beat the
time.
Phillies.
If the Pittsburgh Pirates, their last World Series was 2009, I'd be thrilled, right? But this is the New York Yankees we're talking about, and you look at the Yankees roster and guys that are free agents next year. Soto,
right?
Gleyber Torres, and I think Clay Holmes is also a free agent at the end of the year. So it had been 15 years since they'd been back to the World Series. Finally got over that ALCS hump. If not now, when? For the Yankees, you know what I mean? And it sounds crazy. We're talking about a team with that kind of payroll like that. But you have, this is the Judge, this is the Garrett Cole era. You might be losing Juan Soto at the end of the season. If not now, when for the Yankees? And if they don't get it done this year, things are going to hit the fan, I think, in New York.
It's pretty crazy stuff. Obviously, yes, the money at disposal when 2 of these teams collide is what everybody is going to talk about. But Soto, he might be in line for one of the biggest contracts of all time. It might not be Ohtani level, but it might be.
It might break.
It could break it.
Yeah.
I think
it's going to be something ridiculous.
He's going to be one of those guys that are going to be a true X factor. I think if the Yankees win, it's going to be because guys like that really show up and play that they would. I think everybody thinks Judge, Shohei are going to do their thing, but those guys, like, if Stanton shows up, if
He's
Soto
been
shows
their best
up,
hitter, arguably all postseason.
But if all those guys collide at the same time, it's going to be crazy.
Well, and I think that's what this is. Obviously, take the players out of it, right? You have the 2 biggest markets in the sport, New York and LA. You have the 2 biggest teams from those markets and brands in the Yankees and the Dodgers, and then you have the superstars on both sides. Shohei, you got Freddie Freeman, you got Mookie Betts, you got Judge, Soto, Garrett Cole, Jazz Chisholm.
Great addition this year.
It is littered with star power brand. This is what the MLB wanted And Manfred's got to be jumping for joy that this is
100%.
how things played out. I can't wait to see how these ratings look, once the World Series is wrapped up, because it's got to blow everything else out of the water over the last how many years.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting stuff. Let's hear another response we got from people on Facebook, because we asked everybody at home who you think is going to win the World Series and why. Let's check out another response.
This is Edwin Madragon on Facebook. He says, the Dodgers for sure. Last time the Dodgers met the Yankees, El Toro Valenzuela made it happen. And now that this has happened, for sure, they will win for him.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
first time since 1981 that these two teams are colliding again. To me, it's really going to come down to pitching. I think so much of playoff baseball comes down to pitching. If Garrett Cole can pitch 2 times, maybe 3 in this series, that's going to be a big difference maker, because, bullpen looked good against Padres and the Mets, but can you keep going back to the well if your starters aren't getting you 6-7 innings?
Right, and they haven't seen a team like the Yankees yet this postseason. And, same could be said for the Yankees. They haven't seen a team like the Dodgers yet this postseries.
Yeah. It's when you're ace, though. I mean, let's just talk about that. Jack Flaherty, 1-2, 7.04 ERA. He gave up 15 hits and 12 earned runs in this postseason. So, I mean, when your ace is doing that,
right,
you feel a little queasy.
Yeah, you're not. That's not what you want. Not ideal in the postseason. And I like what you said, where in the postseason it really is all about who gets hot on the mound, right? And that's how kind of things have played out for as long as we've been watching baseball.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Let's hear another response we got from people at home, because, listen, frankly, there's a lot of Dodgers fans here in Vegas, so let's hear what people are saying.
This is Kevin Kelly on Facebook. He says, Yankees win in 7, Stanton named series MVP.
Do you think, because listen, the construction of these teams, Andrew Friedman, Brian Cashman, the GMs who are really team presidents making this all happen from a team construction standpoint, they deserve a lot of credit. How much do you think the managers play a role in elevating a team and taking them over the top in a World Series? Like, is Dave Roberts, is there anything he can do from a managerial standpoint that can help or hurt this team?
I think at this point, when you look at these rosters, how they're constructed, the lineups, the bullpens, the rotation, I think managers at this point can really only hurt, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're like NBA coaches,
right?
To an extent, where when you get to a certain point in the NBA playoffs, it's like it's up to the players. Players got to go out and perform, and I think that's really what this is going to come down to. Managers, they can't do anything but lose them, World Series games, I think.
I don't have much of a rooting interest. The only rooting interest I really have is I just want Judge and Shohei to put on a show, and I want to see them go the bat in a big time way. James, as we head the break, let's hear one last response we got from the good people at home.
This is Marinus Shunk on Facebook. He says, Dodgers, the league has rigged it, and Ohtani will pitch in the final game.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Sound Off Sports. Mike Davis here. Listen, I'm in the studio right now, here in the den at Fox 5 with this dude right here, Grillin' McMillian. I got this stuff in my pantry. I went to Ace Hardware. I'm making chicken at home. I'm putting this stuff on everything. I've already taken, my dating game has already gone to the whole next level, because this is my secret sauce right here. We got sauces. We got spices. We got Grillin' McMillian with us right now. Mark McMillian, 8 seasons in the NFL with my birds. You got a big thing going on this weekend. Saturday, Sunday, Chiefs are in town at Flanker. We're going to have the Kingdom Tailgate Party Saturday and Sunday. Tell us what's going to be going down.
It's going to be a lot going down. Obviously, the Chiefs always say they're going to take over the next city. So we're looking for the takeover this weekend at Flankers inside Mandalay Bay. Me and my teammate Dana Hughes, we played together in 97, 98 with the Chiefs. He'll be in town. He does a radio for the Chiefs. So we're going to be just hanging out with the fans and enjoying some Kansas City-style barbecue.
I love it. Let's talk about this menu right here because, listen, we all know we're going to be talking football, but you know your stuff when it comes to the kitchen. You compete it on TV, Gordon Ramsay, all that good stuff. But let's talk about this. We got burnt ends wedge salad. I love the reactions. Boom barbecue pork spare ribs and apple cranberry cobbler.
Man, we did the demo the other day. We just released it today. Chef Mike over there at Flankers did an amazing job. Their social media team did a great job with the video. Man, it is going to be amazing. I can't wait for people to try that burnt end salad.
Oh,
unbelievable. And then top it off with a cobbler.
I mean, so you're getting some tastiness, but it's also a salad, so you're feeling good about yourself.
Yeah, you feel good about it. You got the sweet heat barbecue sauce on it. And then my man even topped it off. He put the Boom 3.0 season on the fries.
On the fries? Oh, I got to do that.
So we having Boom fries along with the spare ribs with my sweet heat barbecue sauce.
Wow. Grilling McMillian. Make sure you go check out all that stuff. Ace Hardware, the sauces, the spices. I'm going to put that on my fries now. Let's talk, though. First thing of business. First order of business. Chiefs just made the trade. Traded a fifth to get DeAndre Hopkins. We all know D-Hop with the Texans, with the Cards, now with the Titans. Listen, his stuff with the Titans hasn't been good. 173 yards, 1 touchdown on only 15 catches so far. So he hasn't been having a productive season. It's hard to have a productive season with Will Levis as your quarterback.
Terrible.
What is this going to mean for the Chiefs? We know Hollywood Brown out for the season. Rashee Rice out for the season. Juju has a hammy issue. So now D-Hop, what do you expect production-wise from him once he enters that offense?
If you're a receiver and you walk into the office and you see Big Red and you see Patrick Mahomes, you automatically just get 2 more years added to your career, man. That is something special. To be able to play in that offense. But Andy Reid is the architect of using his players to the best of their abilities. We're not going to see the Houston Texans be hot, but we are going to see Andy use them in different situations.
Yeah.
You can't sleep on Kelsey. Kelsey is still a force to be reckoned with. He's just like a baseball player now. He's just waiting for the postseason for him to wake up. But, man, what a trade, man. People were sleeping, and it happened. But
hey, it's like a bag of chips. They basically got him for not too much. But here's what's fascinating to me. I mean, let's be real. They're 6-0, the Chiefs, but they don't look tremendous on offense. Mahomes, probably his worst statistical season we've ever seen. Kelsey, not playing tremendous. He's getting up there in age. Do you think, Hopkins coming into this offense, how much is this going to fix Mahomes? Because I think D-Hop's going to have a better circumstance than he had, obviously, with the Titans. But are they going to be able to fix this offense in a short period of time? Because I think a lot of it is also just the pressure. The tackle position for them is pretty weak as well.
A lot of penalties on the offensive line. But I tell people, in the last couple of years, the offense has not been as explosive as everybody's used to. But the key to the Chiefs is that defense.
Yes.
Spags got them boys playing, man. The last couple of years, the last couple of Super Bowls, they've been winning on defense. Patrick Mahomes hasn't been able to, throw up 40 or 50 points a game, but people are not being able to run the ball well against them or throw the ball. So what Spags is doing with that defense, people don't talk about it, but the Chiefs has a really, really solid defense.
100%. All right, so out of the 3 wide receivers that kind of shifted and moved teams, you got Amari Cooper going to the Bills. You got obviously D-Hop now with the Chiefs, and then, of course, Devontae Adams leaves the Raiders, goes to the Jets. Who's going to have the best season for the rest of the year now out of those 3 guys? Who's going to have the most impact on their new team?
You want to say B-Hop because of Patrick Mahomes, but I like the Amari Cooper trade,
Really?
over there with, Josh. Josh, he gets it done, man. He's a fighter. Amari Cooper is still one of the best route runners in the game. When you're a player, man, you're on a losing team. You really can't showcase your talents, but all of a sudden you get a jolt. You're on a winning team.
Yeah.
That says a lot. I went from the Saints where we were really bad, and all of a sudden I'm in the locker room with Dre Rison and Marcus Allen and Derek Thomas. Now all of a sudden I have probably one of my best 2 years in my NFL career playing in that situation. So I think Amari Cooper is somebody that we need to continue to watch because of Josh Allen. Man, he's playing at a high level. A lot of people are not saying it, but he's just winning games. So B-Hop, man, I know he's going to add a lot to the Chiefs, but keep your eye on that Alabama guy, Amari Cooper.
Okay, we'll make sure we do that, former Raider as well. Let's talk about some other things that are going on. Tua coming back. Scary, right?
Yeah.
Your initial reactions that it's hard for guys like me to really understand what it's like to be on that field and to go through those types of injuries. And when it's dealing with concussions in your head, I mean, it's a scary thing. Do you think this guy should be coming back to play football?
Knowing him, from a kid back in Hawaii, obviously following his career through Alabama and with the Dolphins, I know he's got a lot of money. I know his pride, wants to go out there and prove a lot of people wrong. But at the end of the day, we can't play this game forever. You got to think about your long-term health. He's had some major concussions. It's not like minors. He's been knocked out on the stretcher. I just don't think, the risk is worth the reward later as far as having money in your bank account. Because if you're sucking key lime pie through a straw, it doesn't matter.
Did you go through any concussions when you were playing?
Back in the day, we just had smelling sauce, man. So,
But, I mean, when you reflect, do you think you did?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. The way we played the game, the way the equipment was, it was a very physical, violent game back then. And, God rest his soul, my guy Dre Waters, passed away because he committed suicide because – all the concussions and the head injuries that he had. And I've seen Dre, literally say to me and Eric, don't worry about the inside routes because I will take care of that. And he used to always tell Mike Irvin, he said, either you're going to sleep or I'm going to sleep. And I don't care about knocking myself out. Wow. And if you look at most of the Cowboys games that we played, they really didn't run a lot of inside routes because they knew Dre was in there lurking.
It's scary stuff to really consider. We also got to talk about Saquon, what he's been doing with this Eagles team. I mean, obviously, he plays against his former squad, the G-Men, and just goes off. He could have easily, basically in 3/4 of action, 174 yards, a touchdown, could have easily had another couple touchdowns and over 200 yards. You saw on the sideline, Coach Sirianni saying to him, hey, listen, do you want to be back out there? Do you want to beat your career high? And he's like, no, let the other dogs eat. What do you think about him as a player, what he's meant to that franchise? And, from a locker room, how can you not love Saquon Barkley?
Man, that clip alone is, I've been hearing about the way in his character back in Penn State, and then he carries on to the NFL. And you kind of wonder, what was going on in New York if he's this kind of guy? Why wouldn't you build around a Saquon Barkley instead of Daniel Jones? Exactly. And now you see, him being excited, on that touchdown pass that A.J. Brown caught. You hear this reaction. He was like, man, you a bad dude. And in our mind, we're like, Saquon, you a bad dude. So it just says a lot about his character. And if you're a young guy in the locker room or an older guy, you got to be like, man, this is a guy we need to ride for because he's going to ride for us 100%.
A couple last things I want to talk about because my dude here, producer James Edward Barrickman IV, he always gets on me because I say, listen, you look at the NFL landscape right now, running backs have really – the narrative for the past few years have been, running backs, they don't really mean anything, running back by committee. I think you take a look at the landscape this year with what Derrick Henry has done with the Ravens, with Saquon and how he's helped this Eagles offense. Even, the Vikings losing that game to the Lions and not having Aaron Jones in the mix. I think you see how running backs are really making a big impact. Is there a trend?
I'm going to throw in Kareem Hunt right now.
Even with the Chiefs.
With the Chiefs.
With no Pacheco.
Yeah.
So do you think we're really getting back to a little bit more of understanding the value of a running back and what it can really do in turn for an offense?
These running backs that you named, obviously Derrick Henry just sticks out in everybody's mind. What he's able to do is scary. I played against some really good backs, but he's a large human running very fast and just dominating between the tackles. Like say Saquon Barkley, what he's able to do out of the backfield, blocking. He's a complete back.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people were like, hey, why is he holding out for money? He's not worth it. Now you're seeing running backs are worth every penny that they deserve. Even Josh Jacobs over there in Green Bay is playing well.
Raiders are missing him.
Yeah, and I don't understand these GMs, man. At the end of the day, you have to be able to run the ball to help your passing game.
It makes a complete sense. Now let's bring this home to the Raiders for a second. So,
oh my goodness.
Listen, what's your take on the current situation? Because if you're in the locker room and you're a player like that, it's just puzzling to me in a lot of ways, because Josh McDaniels gets kind of shipped out of town, and he probably should have been, but really Max Crosby, Davante Adams wanted that. Yeah. And then Davante Adams has a falling out with the guy that he was trying to bring in as a coach, and we don't know. I mean, that injury was a little suspect. I mean, he
wasn't injured.
Okay.
He wasn't injured.
So tell me what is going on with this franchise, because obviously now you're trading away Davante Adams.
Yeah.
There's even rumors out there. I don't think you should do it at all. Some people are saying maybe trade Max Crosby, see what you can get. I'm like, you can't trade that guy. But
you can't. Anybody's tradable.
So
the
49ers
cut Jerry Rice and Ronnie Lott now.
So what would you do? I mean, if you're running the Raiders, what are you doing right now? Because the worst thing you can be in the NFL is in the middle.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, they got to be trying to get that Cam Ward, that Shedeur Sanders. Yeah. They got to be trying to get one of those top elite quarterbacks coming out of the draft. What should they do? Should it be a fire sale and everybody's available? What would you do if you were Tom Telesco?
Well, they don't really have any trade value players besides Max Crosby that people are really going to bite on. So, but you have to be able to build around a Max Crosby, you know. He's a missing piece for a lot of teams out there.
I mean, Hutchinson just went down with Detroit.
Yeah, and that's what he's from. He's a Michigan guy.
Right.
So, you know, I know a lot of chirping and, hey, I'm a Raider. I got it on my chest. But at the end of the day, this is a business. And if they see value in getting more picks to be able to get a quarterback, I think they should make the move. But it'd be really hard to trade away a Max Crosby because he means so much to this organization. And you can build around that. And they were actually doing okay.
That's what I think. I mean, it's puzzling to me because in today's NFL, it's quarterback and edge rusher driven, right? So if you hit on quarterback next year, just like CJ turned around the Texans, just like Jaden Daniels has turned around the Commanders, you want that edge rusher now if you do a 1-year turnaround. So to me, I don't see how you can trade this guy, but I'm sure there's going to be conversations and GM's calling.
Yeah, they're going to be calling. If I was a GM, I'll be calling. If I was the Detroit Lions, I was like, yo, what do you guys need? Because they got a lot of talent on that defensive side of the ball that's probably worthy of some first-round picks. They got 2 excellent running backs. You know, obviously, like say Hutchinson going down, but obviously he'll be back. But if you're trying to make that run, because the window does close real quick, and we saw with the 49ers, that window closed real quickly on them. You got to try to go all in and try to make something happen. But like I said, if I'm the Raiders, I'm not trading Max Crosby. I'm keeping Max Crosby. I'm trying to make as much. They got a lot of money.
Yeah.
So you know, you try to go out and get one of those top quarterbacks. You can find some receivers to kind of do what you need to do. But as far as the defensive unit, if you look at the Raiders, they're not a bad defensive unit. They just need to score points on offense to put the pressure on the opposing team.
What's it like being a player in that locker room right now when you know you can't generate points and you're trading away guys like Davante Adams? What does it feel like to be in a locker room?
It has to suck, you know, as a player. You know, you're looking at these guys, and obviously a young guy, you say, hey, I get an opportunity. Then Jacoby Myers, he misses the last 2 weeks, and he was going to be the number 1. So you're looking at Tucker. You're looking at guys that run toss sweeps, jet sweeps. Nobody really on the outside that can route a guy up, or a guy that can go across the middle and make the tough catch.
Bowers looks great. Bowers,
oh, my gosh. Bowers is amazing.
To me, I would say the 2 guys who, no matter what GM calls, you can't touch. They're untouchable. Crosby and Bowers have to be untouchable. Last thing I want to ask you, 49ers, man, what a fall from grace. Yes. Now, there's a lot of people out there that were big Brock Purdy enthusiast. James Edward Barrickman, my producer, not one of those guys. He thought he's a system quarterback. You plug and play me in Kyle Shanahan's offense, and we're going to be going to the NFC Championship. What do you think's going on there? I mean, obviously, injuries are the headline. No McCaffrey, you know.
That's big.
Debo's hurt. Ayuk's out for the year. Yeah. I mean, the injury issue is paramount. The problem, though, is you're starting to see Purdy's inefficiencies without the studs surrounding him, right? When you take a look at this 49ers team, the window is tight for them because they're paying a lot of money all over.
A lot of money. A lot of San Francisco treats over there.
So what do you think is going to be the deal there? Have they kind of missed out on their opportunity to do anything? And is this season just, can they actually compete with the Lions, the Ravens? I don't think they look like the same. Is this a Super Bowl slump?
No, it's not a Super Bowl slump. Like I said, it all started in the offseason. With Trent holding out, Ayuk holding out, McCaffrey not being able to play during the season. Like I said, the jury is still out on Brock Purdy. If he can be that guy, just be able to plug and play with receivers that they have out there. And so far, he's not been able to do that and be the same quarterback that we saw last couple of years. So the 49ers are in a little dire strait right now. Like I said, man, the NFL is so competitive.
Right.
If you don't hit it right, and as you see, why do you think the Chiefs are going out and doing all these moves? Because they know at any moment, that window can close, but they're going to milk 15 for every ring that they can and just let it ride. And I don't know why more franchises don't do that. The Ravens, they went out and got Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, but now you see, I see why we got Derrick Henry.
Cowboys should have done that.
Yeah.
A lot of these teams should have done it.
And don't think the Chiefs wasn't watching that Monday night game and saw the Ravens and saw what they put up. They was like, wait a minute, we got to stay ahead of this game, as well as the Buffalo Bills. So those are the three teams that's jockeying in that AFC.
It's really interesting stuff. And to me, it's a perfect example of the distinction between the 49ers and the Chiefs because, listen, Chiefs have a myriad of injuries as well. They had the deal with Rice going down, Pacheco going down. They had to deal, now with Hollywood Brown, all this stuff. So now they're bringing in a new guy. So to me, it's like, sure, Mahomes isn't looking like the MVP quarterback that he usually is, but they're 6-0. They're still winning, and that's got to stand for something. When you're undefeated, to win on Sundays, that's not easy.
Yeah,
so to overcome those issues, that's the difference to me between a Mahomes and a Purdy and the Chiefs and that organization.
100%. A lot of people are like, oh, Patrick Mahomes is not having a good year, but if not having a good year statistically and I'm 6-0, I'm okay with 15 doing that, and I'm okay with winning games because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's not about stats, especially with him. He's already going to the Hall of Fame.
Right.
He just want to manage the game, let his defense, go out there and win the game. And you can see his game changes a little bit for him as well. Yeah. He's not taking as many chances because he knows he has a really good defense that teams are going to have to go 80, 90, 70 yards to score. And it's kind of, it's wearing on that team. And all he needs is just a little help, man. And B-Hop might be that medicine.
Well, listen, we got the Kingdom Tailgate Party going down Saturday, Sunday. Chiefs are in town to play the Raiders. So much exciting stuff going to be going down with Flanker Kitchen and Sports Bar right near Allegiant Stadium right there. It's going to be a great time. You're going to see Mark McMillian there. He's going to have all the grilling McMillian stuff. Here, can you do something for me? I want you to speak into the camera for a second and just show everybody that's us and tell somebody if you're cooking for your lady, you have a lady coming over on a date and you're going to put that on some chicken. Explain to the audience what is that going to do for a guy and elevated his kitchen.
Well, you're going to get more than one lady when you put this on the sauce. When you put the sauce on there, you're going to get multiple ladies jumping your gate, trying to crack your gate code, to try to come in and see what this sweet heat barbecue sauce is all about. I'm trying to tell you.
You're going to try to break up with them, and they're not going to want to. They're not going to give you up.
Well, they might want to break up with you, but they ain't going to break up with this sauce.
There you go. The great Mark McMillian. Thanks for spending some time. I'm going to start putting that on fries now.
It's the boom fries, man. If you have time, come on out to Flankers, man. Saturday and Sunday, we'll be there. The menu is fantastic. The venue is awesome. Like I say, Chief fans are coming in drones. And you don't have to just be a Chief fan to come out. You can be a fan of any team to come out and enjoy the menu, enjoy all the awesomeness that they serve at Flankers. And it's inside Mandalay Bay. It's a cool little spot.
Hey, it's the way to do it right near Allegiant Stadium. Big weekend of college football. We love having you break down stuff with us all the time. Tell us again your playing weight again.
I was 145, 147. I think the sauce might have weighed a little bit more than me. The sauce,
that's basically 150 right there.
That's 150.
Man, dude, you got to be a tough dude. Back in the 90s to be playing at that weight.
I was crazy. I would like to say I was crazy. I look at highlights. I think I sent you some the other day. when you look at some of those highlights, and I'm like, what was I doing? I think one time I watched one when I was with the Eagles and we played the Giants and I got an interception and I was just running all over the place and I'm like weaving through guys. You can't even see me. There's like big linemen. And then Howard Cross, who's my Alabama guy, yoked me around the neck and bust my lip.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine what that felt like. But dude, we love having you here. Can't wait to have you back. We're going to get you back on we want to have you on Sin City Beat, our other sports show. We're going to do that soon.
Let's
okay?
make it happen.
All right, we're going to do that. Guys, go check them out. Flanker Grill and Sports Bar, Mandalay Bay this weekend. Kingdom tailgate party. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for being here, Mark.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
McMillian, make sure you use it on your fries, too. We'll be right back after a short break. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Sound Off Sports. All right, so now we're going to be talking about the 49ers. Yes, not looking too hot this season. Of course, the theme of the season for the San Francisco 49ers, James, has been injuries, okay?
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey hasn't played all year. Brandon Ayuk now out for the year. Deebo Samuel dealing with some injuries as well. But as a lot of people know, heading into the season, there was a lot of turmoil. Brandon Ayuk holding out with John Lynch, quarreling with Kyle Shanahan, and then Trent Williams holds out for a little bit. So there's so much stuff going on. But if anything, if you have any stance that you continually make sure you express in the back room, in the back office, it would be the fact that you don't love Brock Purdy and you don't think that he's this elite quarterback. You think it's more so his success is a product of being in the Kyle Shanahan system and functioning within that offense. Do you think, James, more people now, analysts, experts, fans at home, do you think more of them are recognizing, hey, Brock Purdy isn't the elite quarterback we really thought he was, because now without all these weapons at his disposal, it looks a little different?
I think history has backed up my take here, where Brock Purdy is a serviceable NFL quarterback. He's an NFL starter, but he's not one of these elite guys who's going to get you over the hump. Kyle Shanahan got to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. He got to another one with Brock Purdy. And you look at the construction of these rosters, and it's been the star power on the offensive side of the ball and on the defensive side of the ball that has really carried, and the mind and the greatness of Kyle Shanahan, those two combined, and it's really, these quarterbacks just don't screw it up. You know, we're not asking you to do a lot. You know, you have players all over the field. We're going to scheme them open. All you got to do is hit them. We're not asking you to, extend or, elevate really anybody. And when you look at Brock Purdy, he's, I think, 14-2 when CMC, Deebo, and Trent Williams are all playing. When they're not, he's 6-6. So I think what a lot of people, and I got reamed. Yeah, I mean, you heard what was said back here. I got reamed for saying I don't think Brock Purdy is top 10, top 12. And this is a little bit of a stretch. I said, you could take Kenny Pickett and put him in Kyle Shanahan's office, and I think he would take you just about as far as Brock Purdy did. And I don't think that's too far off. I just truly think that Kyle Shanahan's offense is quarterback proof, and you could stick a decent percentage of league quarterbacks in that position, and they're going to get you just about as far as Brock Purdy got you.
Kenny Pickett's way too far
and maybe
I think so.
But I was heated.
You were heated. I think it's a little too far when it comes to that. But yes, we're seeing a different kind of team, and I think a lot of people aren't mentioning this, but I think more so than anything, I think even 50-50, if we're talking injuries, I think equally an issue is the Super Bowl slump. Can
you have a Super Bowl slump if you didn't win the Super Bowl?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, of course. I think it's even worse than winning. When you lose the Super Bowl and you're there and you lose, that takes a lot.
No, it takes a lot out of you because you're playing so many more games. You're going deeper into the season.
You feel like, man, like we were that close.
The disappointment. Yeah,
and I think that weighs on franchises, and I think we've seen that, and a lot of people have discussed, even within the Eagles organization, losing the Super Bowl. The weight that carries, the toll that carries on a franchise is you can't go spoken.
Mentally, yes, and that's got to weigh on you heavy, but these are professional athletes. They get paid to be locked in 24/7. You don't think that lights a fire? That disappointment doesn't light a fire. Instead, you think
It should.
You think they're feeling sorry for themselves walking around the facility?
I do think some people could feel that way. I think you have to be a very mentally tough, strong human being to not let that affect you in a really negative way. But, so I think when you combine that with injuries, there's a lot to be spoken for with those two issues. Let's hear, though, what some people at home are saying about their beloved 49ers potentially.
Yes, I still think that the 49ers have good chance of beating Kansas City. So I'm going for 49ers, of course.
All right, yeah, so as you see there, some fans are still holding out hope. I think it's obvious. I think this is a team that's playing for the playoffs, and I don't see how they're competing at their current state of play against the Lions, the Ravens. Like, even the Packers look to me like a much better team than the 49ers. I don't think the 49ers could beat those elite franchises at this juncture.
No, not when you look at the injuries that they're dealing with. CMC, Ayuk, when CMC coming back? Is he coming back? We think he's coming back late in the season, but can we rely on that? Ayuk's done for the year. Debo's sick. Trent Williams was dealing with an injury too. Jawan Jennings, their healthiest wide receiver, got shot in the chest 2 months ago. You know what I mean? So they're dealing with a lot of things, and they don't have a Patrick Mahomes, right? They don't have 15. They got Brock Purdy. So I think that when you look at the way the Niners, the way the season has gone and the injuries they're dealing with, they are not the well-oiled machine that we have become accustomed to seeing over the past, how many years. I think that given their division is weak, the Rams are down. We can't rely on Seattle with Geno and, what's Arizona with Kyler. I think that might be their biggest threat at this point. I think given that their division is down, I think they'll make the playoffs, but they're not going to seriously compete once they get there.
Well, that's their saving grace, is that they're in the NFC West. If they weren't in the NFC West, it'd be a totally different story.
Look at these next 6 games for them. They got Dallas, who they normally dominate. They got at Tampa Bay, Seattle, at Green Bay, then at Buffalo, Chicago. And then second to last game of the year, they got Detroit.
Yeah.
So you look at, and there's not a single what game there in that 6-game stretch can you chalk up as a W? You can't.
Right. If you make it to the playoffs because you win the NFC West and that's how you get your spot in the playoffs, they're not going to have a favorable playoff schedule. Not going to be.
They're going to be facing the big dogs.
It's going to be tough. So that's not a great situation. Let's hear some more of the responses we got from people on X and Facebook.
This is Bill Ross on Facebook. He says, our division is pretty average this year. My team, the Seahawks, is who I hope win the division, but it's anyone's chance at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Geno's leading the league in pass yards.
My guy. West Virginia
defense looks pretty good. They got Mike McDonald, new head coach there. He come from Baltimore with the Ravens. We all know he knows defense. So listen, I mean, playoff football, running the ball, these are big-time things. Jordan Mason doesn't have that same power and punch that it looked like he had when he kicked off
even
the
he's
season.
Dealing with injuries too.
So they got Garendo. They got all these issues that are coming to the forefront, and it's just good teams overcome them. The Chiefs have overcome a lot of injuries, and sure, does it look pretty? No. Does Mahomes look like he's the MVP of the league? No. But they're 6-0, and he's making plays when it counts. So there's something to be said about that. And to me, I think that's the complete distinction between a Purdy and a Mahomes or a 49ers franchise. And what Reed has done with the Chiefs is that good teams overcome issues, and they can't overcome all these issues. It might be a ton, but you got to be fair. Other organizations have to overcome stuff. The Lions are going to have to overcome Hutchinson. The Chiefs have overcome not having a wide receiver, frankly. So they went and got Hopkins, but they're 6-0 without Hopkins.
I think comparing the Niners situation to the Chiefs situation is a little unfair given the quarterback situation, right? At the end of the day, the Chiefs have 15. The Niners have Brock Purdy. Those are not the same caliber, not the same tier, not even close.
And that's all I'm saying is when you have an elite level quarterback, he
covers
can
up a
raise your
lot
game.
of blemishes.
There's only maybe 3 guys in the league who can do that.
Right.
I would say maybe it's Josh Allen, Mahomes, and maybe Lamar.
I think you could put a Burrow in that category.
Maybe,
I think Herbert in the right situation could be that guy.
But, right now, probably the safest bet would be to say Josh Allen and Mahomes are the 2 guys who can do that.
Of course.
Let's get another response from people at home.
This is George Palacios on Facebook. He says, nope, but our number 1 wide receivers are down right now, plus CMC is still out till November. Purdy played terrible against that defense, and our special teams is the worst in the league. Even if we did, it would be one and done for us. The season is over. Time to concentrate on getting back to what our Niners used to be. Fire Sorensen. We're calling for the defensive coordinator's head in San Francisco.
Defense hasn't looked the same at all either.
No, they're outside the top 10, and in some cases the top 20 in points per game allowed, rushing yards per game, and passing.
I was curious, do you think they would bring back Robert Saleh and have him just...
He's looking for a job.
He's looking for a job, so maybe they bring him back in the fold, see what he could do.
I think that's a layup if you're the Niners organization.
I would do it right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Bring him in, try to get some things turned around. I mean, because we saw, D'Amico leaving there was a big thing as well,
right,
and all that stuff. But, listen, playoff football, that team, Kyle Shanahan, everybody... has to realize it's really the Shanahans are good at running the ball. That's what they know. And when we see now McCaffrey was the linchpin, to this team. Kittle is playing phenomenal, but it's really McCaffrey was the motor that kept that team going, and Purdy off play action and a function of McCaffrey and all the things he did for that offense. That was the special sauce, and if your offense isn't on the field, it's going to make things worse for the defense. It's just how it is. So it's a tough situation for the Niners. And my question to you, James, as we're wrapping up this segment, the money situation is going to catch up with them.
Right.
That's going to catch up at some point. They paid Ayuk, which they shouldn't have done. They should have traded him. Because it's just,
it's looking really bad.
You can't pay everybody.
You can't pay everybody. And this is another point I wanted to make is, this might save the Niners, and I think John Lynch is a very good GM and a very smart guy, but I think the injuries to CMC, the injuries to Ayuk, the injuries, they're missing a lot of pieces. I think without those guys, if this season goes not how they want it to go and they finish up 9-8 or 10-7 or whatever, and Brock Purdy doesn't look like he has looked when all of those guys play, I think that will have saved the Niners from potentially making a horrible contractual mistake by paying Brock Purdy like the $65 million a year or whatever he's being projected to get. And I think that would be a mistake to pay him. I would have said that before the injuries. I would have said that a year ago. But I think a lot of people, as we talked about earlier, are going to realize without these weapons, what is Brock Purdy?
Right. And the question is would he go somewhere else and get that bag, or
I
would
think
he
some
stay there
bad organization will pay him too much money.
So
I don't think he's getting in San Francisco.
What's your prediction at the end of the year? Who's the quarterback for the 49ers next year?
I don't know who it's going to be. I bet you right now they wish they still had Sam Darnold, because I guarantee you Sam Darnold could elevate that offense. Look what he's doing, and he's playing at an MVP level in Minnesota. Imagine what he could do in a Kyle Shanahan offense with San Francisco. So I bet you they are kicking themselves for letting go of Sam Darnold, who I would bet big money. I don't think it's a question. It is definitely a better quarterback than Brock Purdy by a margin.
Yeah. I think we've seen that proof in the pudding this year. James, as we head the break, let's hear one more response from the people at home.
Debbie Clark on Facebook says, not with Purdy as QB.
Welcome back to SOS. All right, so it's sink or swim time. A good thing that we're talking about that just broke this week in the NFL. The Chiefs, no Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown out for the year, Juju Smith-Schuster dealing with a hammy issue, and they make a trade with the Tennessee Titans, sending a fifth that can turn into a fourth for DeAndre Hopkins, a Pro Bowl, 5-time Pro Bowler, a stud, a guy who we all remember with Houston and even Arizona was having a great career. But frankly, with the Titans, it hasn't been phenomenal. And a lot of that is due to just how awful that franchise is and Will Levis, of course. But D-Hop this year in 6 games, 173 yards, 1 touchdown on 15 catches. So not great for him.
Horrible.
Do you think going to the Chiefs, playing with Mahomes now, is the story going to turn around for DeAndre Hopkins? Is he going to be the guy who just energizes this offense and now has ridiculous numbers?
I wish this had happened like a year and a half ago. You know what I mean? Because D-Hop he's 32, and he hasn't. He's been dealing with injuries this year, so that has been a factor in his lack of production. But he's 32, and we saw some of the plays he made last season. That first game with Will Levis where D-Hop, I forget how many.
Good.
Yeah, he looked amazing. So my question is, are we getting that D-Hop, or are we getting an injury-prone, on the kind of on his way out D-Hop? Because if we're getting that D-Hop we got last year, this could be a move that really elevates Kansas City's offense as a whole, and potentially opens it up for other guys like Kelsey, like Xavier Worthy.
What I like about him is that I think when the smaller receivers get older, they tend to go quicker. I think the guys who are more of his height and playing above the rim, those receivers can do a little bit more damage later in their career when they lose that explosiveness. Because Mike Evans, it's not about explosiveness. It's more about position. It's kind of like being a basketball player and fighting for position and boxing out a DB.
Right. Mike Evans is incredible.
So he's incredible, and we're hoping him a healthy recovery as he comes back for that week 12-ish kind of return. But to me, I think D-Hop can be that kind of guy for them, and they haven't had a guy like that in a long time.
Dwayne Bowe.
Right. To me,
they haven't had one with Mahomes, that's for sure.
Dwayne Bowe's a good one to bring up. He was a big-time dude, kind of boxing out, getting in
big
position.
Body guy,
So it's going to be interesting. I think he's going to help Xavier Worthy. I think he's going to help Travis Kelsey. I think the whole thing is going to be a lot better. And listen, he's going to be energized. He's never. I mean, let's think who has he played with? Matt Schaub.
Oh boy, this would be a fun game to play.
I mean, think about
who has he caught touchdowns from?
An elite wide receiver who, I mean, was one of the best dudes in the NFL for the longest.
Oh, he had
time.
Deshaun. He had Deshaun Watson.
Okay, he had Deshaun.
And then he had Kyler. So he's had some quarterbacks.
But not Mahomes.
No, he's never had a Mahomes.
And, I mean, Mahomes, frankly, I mean, tight end, Kelsey, has he had anybody of this skill set, talent-wise, at the wide receiver position? No.
I mean, Tyreek.
Right. But different
different type of wide receiver.
Right.
No question. Yeah, he hasn't had like a big body kind of go up and get it receiver like this. I'm excited. I'm even more excited because nobody cares about this. I feel like I'm Jason Feinberg making this about me. And my fantasy team. I scooped DeAndre Hopkins after he got cut in a 14-team fantasy league in like week 3. Just picked him up, stashed him.
Wow.
While he was on the Titans.
And he hasn't been doing
now he's looking like that. He might explode from a fantasy.
So much of this is situational. Even Calvin Ridley, you think he forgot how to play football? No, but the situation, the circumstances aren't great for even talent receivers. So it's like
you have to have a quarterback.
You got to have a quarterback to a degree. Look, I have Tyreek Hill in 2 leagues. Yeah. He can't even catch a ball with, Skylar Thompson and all the Tim Boyle throwing the ball. I mean, so you need to have So it's going to be pretty cool having Mahomes throwing to DeAndre Hopkins.
I'm really excited about this. I don't think it's going to be this week that we see anything of, substance. But I want to know, is D-Hop healthy? Is he healthy? Does he still have a year or 2 left in him of, he's not going to be elite like he used to be, of pretty darn good wide receiver play.
Yeah.
And I think if you can get that, and you're Kansas City, I mean, a 5th or a 4th round pick, that's nothing for D-Hop.
Tennessee's paying like $2.5 million
Yeah.
of his salary.
Right.
So Brett Veach, GM with the Chiefs, did a tremendous job. Last question for you as we're wrapping this up, James. Out of the Amari Cooper trade, out of the DeAndre Hopkins trade, out of the Devontae Adams trade, those three big wide receivers on the move, who is going to have the biggest impact on their team?
That's a great question. Off the rip, I would have to say Hopkins.
That's what I think.
Amari Cooper in Buffalo, he's going to help. Devontae Adams in New York, I don't think that offense is going anywhere no matter who they have on the outside. I think because you take into account who the mind behind everything is, you got Andy Reid, you have maybe the greatest quarterback of all time in Patrick Mahomes, and now you add one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play, who's, granted, on his last leg. I think the answer is most definitely D-Hop.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm just hoping he's healthy and, still has a little bit of juice left in him.
I think he's going to try to find all the juice he can because he's going to be pumped to be playing with Patrick Mahomes. Guys, thanks so much for joining us this week on Sound Off Sports. A lot of stuff going on and happening in the complete sports world. We got so much more to talk about each and every week. We love to hear from you. Make sure you give us a buzz and check out on X, Facebook, all over. Make sure you're watching out for our questions that we post because we love to hear from you on SOS. Until next time, for James Everett Barrickman, the fourth, I'm Mike Davis. We'll see you back here in the den next week.